Hi there. This is Faraway tree videos. It's the first video that's being made specifically for Faraway tree videos. Now ostensibly this channel is kind of a promotional tool, I suppose, for my family's villa, which is a beautiful villa situated in Kissimmee, just off marker 4 of the 192. I won't go into any more specifics than that. And there's a link at the bottom of the video if you care to have a look, and please do. It is lovely. But I won't be specifically talking about our villa, or indeed our experiences in general on this channel. It will mostly be for discussing, exploring the ideas of going to Florida. An awful lot of people love Disney World, love Universal, love the whole theme park scene and the non-theme park scene, which is wonderful in Florida. And so the purpose of this channel sort of going forward will be to educate, hopefully to entertain partially around the subject of Florida. For those who haven't been to the theme parks, obviously there are an awful lot of other places where you can get information of a much more concise and probably broad and readable nature than this is going to be. But hopefully it would be educational for somebody doing that. Also to any enthusiasts, but perhaps especially people who are aware of some of the aspects of Florida, but perhaps would like a more personalised viewpoint, and indeed would like more of an indication of some of the wider aspects of Florida on offer. And so that's what this channel is going to be. Now, this video's now been going on for 2 minutes, and you've been looking at a pair of bongos for quite some time now. You're probably wondering why. And that's because for the first video, having said most of these aren't going to be personalised, I'd start with a slightly personalised video, because I've got 5 artefacts that are associated with Florida and the Orlando region, from my life certainly, and that mean a lot to me, that mean a lot to my family, and have an awful lot of associations with Florida. And so this will start on a slightly personal note, and just sort of have a talk through what these things are. 5 things. Now I should explain right at the beginning, I'm not a souvenirs guy at all. You'll see a couple of souvenirs on here. I also say things that are associations. They're not necessarily all from Florida, these things. They just all have some fairly major associations. There are some souvenirs and there are some things from Florida. But this is a starting off, and this video will just be me. Maybe in the future I'll incorporate other people. Certainly that's the plan. I'd very much like to do that, to explore, discuss Florida with other people that I know that have strong opinions, educated opinions, that know an awful lot. I know a lot of very great experts on the matter, of which I'm you know, I like to think I'm somewhat informed, but not perhaps drastically so. So this is the first of the 5 artefacts. It's the oldest of the 5 artefacts that relate to Florida, and this is a straight up souvenir, and one of the few souvenirs that as a child I ever asked my parents to buy for me. You're looking at a pair of bongos, or a set of bongos, however they're described, from about 1988 or 89, I would say. One of my first ever trips to Disney, I would be 6 or 7, depending on the year then. And this is from Epcot Center, Morocco. And as you can probably tell, you don't need to be a musician to see that these are not the greatest pair of bongos that the universe has ever seen. They are in fact what might be described as a piece of tat. I think that would probably be an accurate description, both from a souvenir point of view in terms of how it's made, and indeed from a musical point of view. They are not the world's greatest bongos by any stretch of the imagination. However, a young 6-year-old having the experience of what, as far as he was concerned, going to a North African bazaar for the first time, the aesthetics, the iconography, whilst perhaps I know, and looking back, it's a very fake experience in some regards, as so much of World Showcase in Epcot is. But there is undoubtedly something incredibly romantic about the Morocco area. It's still one of my favourite aspects of World Showcase. It's one of my favourite places to eat in Epcot, the Tangerine Cafe, which is just off of the street bazaar. And I think you can still buy bongos, which are pretty much, if not identical to this, then very, very similar. It was between this and a Fez, and in the end the bongos won, which didn't really predict my enjoyment of Doctor Who later on in life. But the 6-year-old me absolutely adored these things, and whilst I can't say it inspired me to become any great percussionist, and indeed I've only visited Africa once or twice in my life, and haven't visited Morocco, but the romanticism of the albeit fake Morocco that this brought out in the 6-year-old me is something that I will always cherish. So that's the first of these artefacts. For the second of these artefacts, this is actually something that is not from Florida initially. It may be, but it's this. Okay, and this, as you can see, is Eeyore. It's an Eeyore plush. It's an Eeyore plush that is missing an eye. How very sad. And a very, very skew whiff. I don't know the best way to show it. A very skew whiff Eeyore. And the reason he's like this is because he's been run over. When I found this Eeyore, he was in England. This is at home, as it were, in Lancashire, in the UK. And he had been run over. It was in the middle of the road. It was raining. He was absolutely soaking wet. I mean, he looked green. I mean, he's back to being proper Eeyore grey now, but it was absolutely green in colour, filled with all sorts of nast and covered in yuck. And well, I couldn't help it. You know, he needed to be picked up. He needed to be taken. And whilst I'm not always the most sentimental of chaps, I would be lying if I didn't say that he has been to Florida. He visited Faraway Tree. I don't know that I took him to the Magic Kingdom. I'm not quite that bad, but having found Eeyore in such desperate situation and concocting in my head the notions of this of a child whose beloved toy has fallen out of the window in the middle of a storm in Lancashire, and knows that there's no way of getting this back to them. I thought that the best thing that you could do, the only thing that you could really do, is to at least take that child's Eeyore plush. And I've never really been a plush guy. I mean, I had some as a child, but certainly not something that's appealed for a very long time. I think he's probably the only plush that I have. But yes, there is a certain amount of sentimental value attached to Eeyore. Not from Florida, but certainly an artefact that I very strongly associate with him. And so on to the next one. Now, the next artefact is a bit more specialist, but it does mean an awful lot. One of the great things of having a place in Florida, or your family having a place in Florida, is that your wider family can come and visit as well. And in my case, in our case, it's very much been that visits to Florida by our extended family have turned into very great things, and certainly one of my cousins and her husband have joined us and been on their own right in many ways. They went for the first time around about 2009 on a trip with us and fell in love totally. Now, they're not necessarily theme park folks, and you don't have to be theme park folks to love Florida. What they are, and what I'm certainly not, they're photographers, and they're twitchers. And so this introduces me to the next artefact that we have, which is this rather beautiful album. Now, my cousin's husband's specialism, she specialises in portraits and model shots. He's very much a twitcher. Well, they kind of both are, but his specialism is in wildlife, and Florida, for those who don't know, is one of the greatest places you could ever wish to go if you were a twitcher. There were a lot of wonderful, wonderful places. Merritt Island, down on the south coast, Circle B Ranch, all sorts of places, even just in central Florida, before you go to the Everglades or the Keys or anything like that, are wonderful. And so, just a few years ago, as a thank you for us introducing them to Florida, they made this. I mean, I don't think that they necessarily made the box. I think that's just a beautiful album that they bought in the south of Florida, which is where this is from. But they made us and filled for us this beautiful photo album, all with photos that they have taken themselves. They're increasingly well known on the Florida photography scene now. I mean, they are very, very serious photographers, both in the northwest of the UK, and they have regular contact who they meet up with and see while they're over there. But it's something that's very, very special to me and for the rest of my family that they made this photo album for us. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. This is a picture of the Florida scrub jay, which is one of the very, very rare birds in Florida. It's specialist to Florida, and so is a really wonderful picture. They're very friendly birds, which is sadly one of the reasons that they're very rare. But that's another one of my five Florida artifacts. I've got two more left. I'll show you the next one. I'll maybe push through these a little bit quicker. Now, on the long trip in 2008-9, it was that Christmas and New Year. We actually went 3 Christmases in a row with varying different people. I went with a partner one year, and then just with my immediate family the next, and then with extended family. And there was a big extended family holiday where many people joined us over that time. Friends, family, extended family, all joined. I mean, I was there for about a month, maybe just over, and I have to say that it was probably the best, or close to the best, time away that we've ever had. Not because of any one or collection of specific people, and not because I've had other amazing times, but just the turnover of people, everything fitting in well. We had American family come to visit the house. So all sorts of blends of people that kind of changed every couple of days. And for Christmas we did the same thing that we did for around 3 years in a row around there, which is go to Ice. And this is a souvenir, and this is the only souvenir in the list now that's from the adulthood, which you cannot tell what is from anymore because it's been used so often. You can see a little bit of blue patterning at the back. It is from Ice, which we went to 3 Christmases in a row. Now, Ice is a specialist December attraction at Gaylord Palms, which is a massive hotel, perhaps notoriously in the area, owned by or managed, well, not managed, part owned anyway, by Oprah Winfrey, which is what it's known for, kind of. But it's a very beautiful hotel in the area, and they have a huge ice display every winter. Or they did have one. I'm not actually sure whether they still do. I think they probably do. And it's an upcharge, and it is a sort of very, very special walk-through sculpted ice event. Now, you've probably seen pictures of these things from Russia, where it's fairly common, and from China, which is where I think they get most of the sculptors for ice. And there are many incredible images associated with ice that I'm sure you can probably look up online. And this wonderful holiday, we went to Ice. I think 2 of the 3 years we went to have lunch there as well. We went to the Villa de Flora, which is a Mediterranean buffet restaurant, which is fantastic. Well, it was anyway. We've not been for a very long time. and then went to ice as well. We did brunch at Villa de Flora and went to ice. And one of the rare times I've been encouraged to purchase a souvenir just because of how lovely the whole atmosphere was, the day was. And as you can see, it's had a lot of love, this, because there was a whole sort of piece of icon where you see that blue thing there that you looked at from through that tankard. So it's quite fantastic. Sort of piece of memorabilia. Again, not something that I would buy if it was just sort of in a Disney park or something like that, but just to remind myself of this particular event. And so we move on to the last piece. Now, this will be very, very incongruous because it won't be like anything that you've seen so far. I will put it on, I will describe it, although it won't need much description. It's this. Now, to describe what it is, it's Fantasia Mickey on a plinth. It's sort of very, very heavy. I'm not sure quite what it's made of. Some kind of plaster, I think. In a globe, which may or may not have batteries working. It lights up, and it's a music box as well. This is a spell book from Fantasia, and so it's a very big, bulky house ornament that also acts as a musical box. Now, as you've probably picked up from the artefacts that we've picked up so far, this is not the sort of thing that I would ever purchase, and indeed I didn't. Nobody in my family purchased this, and again, to be honest, it's not the sort of thing that anybody that I know would like. Is perhaps best described by the kind of person that I am as, I may use the phrase piece of tat to describe it, not to belittle those that would love things like this. A lot of people collect things like this, and good luck to them. But that's not why we have this, and that's not reason that this means a lot to me. It means a lot to me because a number of years ago, my mum wasn't too well. We're fortunate enough that my mum's still around, which is marvellous. She got through what she was experiencing at the time. But the holiday company that rent out our villa wanted to show their appreciation to her. And so it was something that came over from the States. They bought this for her, which was rather lovely, and sent it over to the UK at a time when, not going into too much detail, we wouldn't have necessarily known whether she was going to visit Florida again or not. And so that's it does mean an awful lot to me, certainly, and probably to my family in general, because of that, because it was a thought that came from Florida during that time, even if as a physical item it is not something that I would really have any kind of attachment to. It's not a desirable physical object necessarily, but very much has been on an emotional level. And so that brings us to the end of this discussion. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I maybe rambled on a bit, and in the future this will perhaps be a little bit more ordered. As I say, it's not really envisaged that this will be as personal as this each time. It will be full of opinion, but it will be certainly less kind of emotive in nature and more discursive. I'll be chatting to some of the people that I know that are really keen on Central Florida, in which there will probably be some heated debate and an awful lot of lists, because if there's one thing that the internet and YouTube likes, it's lists. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed. I wish you the best, and the next one won't be quite so serious. All right, good night.